This is perhaps one of the most elementary parts of owning a bow. However, as with many things in archery, some people may be surprised to find out that they've been doing it wrong. Let's look at how to string a bow. Although you'll find several methods on YouTube tutorials, the recommended method is to use a bowstringer. The bowstringer is much easier to use and is the safest option. The reason for this is that the pressure is equally distributed on the limbs, preventing them from twisting and causing permanent damage. It's worth noting that if your bow is under warranty, this may be the only method you can use to string the bow. There are several varieties of bowstringer, but most are designed the same way. One end is a saddle, which sits over the limb. The other end is a limb pocket, which sits over the limb tip. Some bowstringers have two saddles, others have two pockets. To use the bowstringer, you must first place the string onto the bow. Conventionally, the top of the string has a bigger loop, although this isn't always the case. Slide the string down the limb. Then take the other end and loop it over the bottom limb tip. Next, place the top of the bowstringer over the limb tip. If it's a saddle, clip it over the front of the limb below the string. Note that the string sits under the bowstringer. Next, place the bottom of the bowstringer over the bottom tip. If it's a saddle, this goes over the limb like the first part. Now position the bow horizontally. Step on the bowstringer. You can use 1 foot or 2 feet depending on what feels more comfortable. As a small guy, I prefer a wider stance. Use one hand to pull the bow up. Then bend over and lift the string so that it hooks over the limb tip. Remove the bowstringer. Check to see that the string is sitting in the limb grooves neatly and adjust if necessary. Giving the string a few plucks will usually set the string in place as well. To unstring the bow, slip the bowstringer on as you did before. Step on the bowstringer and lift the bow. Slide the top loop down the limb and then lower the bow. If you've never assembled a bow before, this may seem a little scary. After all, you are putting a lot of tension on the limbs, but don't worry, the bow won't break. This is how the bow actually functions. It's meant to take this kind of pressure, and in fact, that's how the bow functions. There's no more tension on the bow than if you were actually shooting it. So don't stress, the limbs won't snap. One thing that can happen is the string spinning around on the tip and being strung backwards. This can be caused by the string not sitting properly in the string groove. Now what happens is when you put the bow under tension, the string slips off the groove and comes around. Often it comes with a very loud snap, but don't worry, nothing's broken. All you have to do is to put some tension on the limbs and then pull the string back down and you string it properly again. Speaking of which, you may see some people pulling the loop off the end of the limb tip. This can work, but in my opinion, it's much easier to pull the string down the limb than to pull it off. Now, what do you do if you don't have a bowstringer? There are two other popular methods, the push-pull and the step-through. To string the bow using the push-pull method, start with the string position as mentioned earlier, the top loop partway down the limb and the bottom loop over the tip. Place the bottom limb against the inside of your foot. Put one hand on the grip and one hand over the top limb. To put the bow under tension, push the limb away from you while pulling the grip towards you. As you push the limb, slide the loop over the tip. Once it sits into the groove, release the tension and check both ends. To unstring, do the same thing. This time, pull the loop down. It's worth noting that the push-pull method is easy and convenient if you're using a light bow. If you're using a bow with a heavier draw weight, you may find it takes a lot more strength to get the limbs under tension. In which case, you may end up using the step-through method. To use the step-through method, step between the bow and the string. place the bottom limb across the front of your back leg. To put the bow under tension, use your hand to pull the limb towards you. Slide the string up to the tip. Check to see that the string is sitting properly in the groove and you're done. To unstring, do the same thing. Step through, push the limb and slide the loop down. It's a good idea to keep your head out of the way of the limb tip. It may seem like an easy habit to do, to put it under tension and sieve on correctly, but if you slip, the limb will snap back and you will hit yourself. The advantage of the step-through method is that it seems easier to put a heavy bow under tension, and this is because you're using your whole body. However, it's also the least safe of the three methods, not only because you might smack yourself in the head, but it's also the most likely to apply uneven tension on the limbs. Now what this can do is to twist the limbs over time. You won't notice anything huge like a snap or a crack, but if you continually do it wrong, then you may end up warping the limbs and rendering them unusable. Although this probably won't happen with cheap fiberglass bows or expensive carbon limbs, it may be more prone to happening to traditional wooden limbs. So do be careful if you use a step through. I would highly recommend you either use the push-pull method or, even better, get a bowstringer. They're very cheap, they're very easy to use, and it's far safer for your bow than using any other method. Anyway, this is NUSensei. Hope you found this helpful. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.